and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sitting by the Christmas tree. I've got my cup of peppermint tea and I'm wearing my best red Christmassy jumper. So I really want you to cozy on down and we're going to have a chat about the 4 creative energies that you need in order to manifest what you want. So I'm going to share you a little backstory around this. So basically today is Wednesday and I've honestly since Sunday, summer Sunday, all of Monday, all of Tuesday, I have been basically sitting and staring at the wall, waiting for some inspiration to arrive. Usually, I can open my channel and it's like some insights flow and some downloads flow and there's just different things that I can learn and I'm really excited to share them with you on this channel. But literally nothing was happening. I was like just sitting at my desk, I was sitting on the floor, I was lying on the floor, I was just trying anything and everything to see if I could open up this flow of creative energy, and literally nothing was happening. And it was only yesterday evening when I sat down by my altar and I was just opening myself up to the Akashic Masters, the Akashic Records. If you don't know who they are, I'll leave the link to the Akashic Masters and who they are up here. But I basically just sat down with them and they shared with me that there are 4 types of creative energy that humans that we can tap into, and basically the third one that I'm going to be sharing with you today is the one that I was more or less missing. Like I was just completely not tapped into it. So I'm going to share with you those 4 and kind of how they interrelate and what ruins them, like what we can do to amplify them, so that you can have your own kind of way to flow with and open to and start creating and co-creating with the reality you find yourself in to create what it is that you want. The first kind of creative energy that they shared with me was the love and light energy. This is the healing energy. If you're a healer or you're in this kind of realm of healing in some way, you'll know the kind of energy that I'm talking about. It often feels like unconditional love. It's very warm, it's very integrating. And the way they shared it with me is that it's kind of like this, it's got this smoothing or harmonizing effect on you. So if you've got any irregularities in your frequency or kind of knots or anything like that, this kind of energy acts to smooth that out, harmonize it. And you don't only have to be in the healing arts in order to quote unquote access this energy. When we're engaging with life and we're going through experiences and finding ways to shift beliefs or see realities that we never thought were possible, and then suddenly something shifts inside of us, or we have a new perspective, or something old falls away. That is also a moment where you might not say, oh, the love and light energy came in, but that's essentially what's happening. That energy is acting to smooth and harmonize your energetic field. Really, the function of this energy is to bring you into harmony with life, with you, with yourself, with your reality around you, so that you're not in this kind of discord when you're wanting to create what you want. You're actually finding a sync with the reality that you find yourself in and the intent that you're creating, so that the intention that you're holding begins to, in a way, match your frequency. Because if your energy is like this and it's kind of like all over, the love and light energy is an energy that helps you match the resonance of the intent that you have and the thing that you're calling in. The way I've received that you can ruin this energy is by being closed-minded, by being closed-hearted, to not allowing life itself to work on you and find ways to work with your energy field and harmonize your energy field. Or if you're in the healing arts, that when you're calling in, you're actively calling in this like unconditional love, this love and light energy, you're doing so in a way that you're trying to fix yourself, or you're trying to make something that you don't like about yourself, like you're trying to get rid of it or make it go away, which kind of creates a separation rather than integration. And the way that you can amplify it is to have this active engagement with life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the harmonious, the disharmonious. Like you're just finding you're integrating and working your way and weaving your energy into this reality in a way that allows it to work on you, so that you can become more harmonized with reality. And if you're actively in the healing arts, then when you're calling in this love and light energy, you're doing so from a place of attempting to understand yourself, to bring more conscious awareness to perhaps parts that are in your shadow. So this might be shadow work or therapy or any kind of, if you do plant medicine, any kind of healing technique that you're working with. You're doing so from a place of curiosity, inquisitiveness, bringing conscious light to something, and you have an awareness that you're not trying to fix yourself. You're allowing your conscious awareness to work on that particular aspect of yourself, and you aren't building up karma and baggage through pushing away or rejecting or just trying to get rid of parts of yourself that you don't like, or you wish they weren't there because they're getting in your way, or whatever reason you might have. You just allow your conscious awareness to do that work for you, because you know that it's powerful and strong enough to do so. Okay, so the second type of creative energy, I'm just going to have a little sip of my tea, is Kundalini. I'm sure you all know about Kundalini, the animating life force energy. This is the energy that allows you to have an actual conscious, embodied experience of your reality with all of your senses. It's the animating life force that allows you to move and influence. It's also an energy that is desiring the union of masculine and feminine energies. So there's a weaving together and the bringing together, and a kind of, you could say, a sense of reproduction or multiplication or creation of more as it's coming together. And it's kind of this more explosive energy that almost as it's coming to me now, as it's coming together, it almost makes more than what was there when it originally started. So this is the nature of this animating Kundalini life force energy. It brings this vitality to you, and it allows you to influence your reality, allows you to move, it allows you to experience things. So it's a very visceral kind of energetic that comes through you. So the thing that the Akashic Masters shared that ruins this energy is very bodily based. It's if you're not taking care of your body by eating foods that align with, say, your Ayurvedic makeup, if you're not exercising, and essentially you're not giving your body in the right way the kind of fuel that allows it to powerfully experience life, because all of its resources are switched on. And it's also when you're not engaging with life in a way that is bringing you joy, because joy brings this upsurging of this Kundalini energy, which is often why some people have their Kundalini rise when they're like riding a horse, for example. Like, it's stimulating the senses and they're also doing something really joyful to them. The thing that can really animate it is, well, basically the inverse of everything I just said. So you're eating really aligned foods for your bioenergetic body, so it really suits the composition of your body. You're also regularly exercising and tuned in to the kind of exercise and the way of exercise that actually brings life force through you. And you're engaging in activities that bring you joy and bring you this real engagement and upsurging of vitality from being and engaging with reality. Okay, and the third one, which was the one that was having me staring at the wall for the past 3 days, is what the Akashic Masters have shared with me is called creative ideation. This is of the Akashic / cosmic / ethereal plane. It's the universal mind, it's universal consciousness, it's primordial creative ideation. It's almost like the source point of creative ideation in source consciousness, or in they didn't actually necessarily use source consciousness, but in the Akashic kind of primordial plane, where everything's in its potential state and none of it has come through each of the possible channels, i.e. each person or each being or each conscious existing thing to become what it's destined to be or what it's desiring to be. This sounds a bit abstract, but allow me to go a bit deeper with it. So the way they were showing it to me is it's almost like this primordial soup of all of these different potential energies, but not every single thing or every single possible template through which those energies can come through is destined for you. Each person's template will manifest in a particular way. So the way that I was seeing it was almost as if, like when you see those kids like, I don't know what you might call it. They're kind of like toys where they have the shape of a star or the shape of a square or a shape of a triangle. So it's almost like each person has got their own combination of what that might look like. It's like you have your own template of how your soul, how your blueprint, how your original coding wants to create. And what you're doing is taking that template and locking it into place with your particular pipe of creation that wants to come through, so that the star matches up with the star and the triangle matches up with the triangle. And so when the energy flows through, it's actually coming out. Whereas if you start overlaying someone else's template, so you aren't aligned with your template, you're not actually on your own creative soul template, then the star is overlaid against like a blank wall, or there's say a circle that's over a triangle, so it's not being fully used. So it's kind of either partially coming through like little fits and starts, or it's not coming through at all. It's just like hitting a blank wall basically. So what I was effectively doing, where I was sitting there for 2 days staring at the wall, is honestly, I think I was getting really caught up in how other people were creating, what I think I ought to create, what does the algorithm want. I found myself really deciding that the way that I like to create, like these kind of videos, they aren't appropriate, or they aren't right, or they're just not how they ought to be in some way. So I had a sense that some things were trying to come through, but I'd immediately wrong my template for being how it is, which would stop the creative flow basically. This creative ideation, or the Akashic soul template, creative template you might call it, it kind of isn't technically an energy in itself. It's more like the thing that allows the energy to flow powerfully rather than the actual energy itself. It's kind of like making all of the structure and the templating and the conduits and everything around that energy strong and clear and just ready for all of that life force energy to flow through and come out into this reality. So what are the things that ruin this particular template, this particular energy? Well, it's all the things that I was doing basically, where you're looking to other people, you're wronging your own template, you're trying to adjust it within an inch of its life so that it's actually no longer representative of what your particular expression wants to be. You have an expectation for how it ought to be and you feel like it doesn't match, which means that you're creating disharmony in your field, which kind of goes back to my first one about that harmonizing life force energy, which means that needs to work on you extra hard as well, so that you might then feel okay for that template to lock in. So there's a lot of things that can be going on that can ruin that particular energy. And the way that you can help or ignite it coming through, well, is to really connect with your own template, to kind of quiet out the noise of reality around you. Like, yeah, you can seek inspiration, but you're seeking inspiration so that it allows you to lock your own template in properly, rather than taking someone else's template or shifting or changing or manipulating your template in some way so that it looks more like that. It's more inspiration for you and gives you permission to actually embody and allow your own template to lock into place. And the fourth type of creative energy that we need in order to make our desires and manifest what it is that we want is external intention. This is perhaps the most nebulous or most difficult to describe because it's almost hard to wrap our head around, but it's essentially the consciousness, the intent, the power, the influence, the directing, the direction of reality itself. So it's the conscious intention of reality itself. So it's external intention from your own intention. So you might be asking, what is it that reality itself wants to create? If you're interested in this idea of what is creative energy and the idea that we might be living in a dream world or in some kind of simulator, I invite you to check out this video. I'll pop this up here where I covered this. This is kind of like the relating or the mirroring aspect of reality. It's almost like asking, what is God's consciousness? What is God's desires? What does the external, want to create? The way you can think about it is what reality would manifest and what reality would create, assuming, if this is impossible, that you had no conscious intent yourself, assuming that you were like this neutral force in reality. Reality would still be in the creation of things. So you could see this particular way of interacting with reality as a way of relating with external intention, because your internal intention is not all that counts in the creation of things in reality. So the way that you can ruin this particular energy is by having the belief that you have no influence over reality at all, that your presence exerts no influence, that you haven't got the power to make changes or affect change or really move and manipulate reality in any way, shape, or form. And it also, from what I received, goes the other way. When you think you are this all-powerful, almighty being that has control over everything and you can make everything that you want and you can force reality into submission, that also isn't going to go down well. So the way that I've received this is almost like imagine how you might relate or might behave with a human being. So if you're literally like, I have no influence, I can't do anything, there's nothing I can do with another human being, that's not really showing a co-creative flow between the two of you. It's almost shutting off communication in some way. Whereas if you're like, no, I'm all powerful and I can make all of the changes I ever wanted to see in reality, and reality is under my thumb in some way. Well, imagine you were relating with another person in that way. You would literally be like, go away, stop talking to me like that. And then you'd probably get rebellion or uprising or just distancing. So that also doesn't kind of go down well either. So there's a middle road that we want to walk when we're in relation and co-creatorship with the external intention of reality. How can we ruin this energetic? Well, the way I received it is that this is less of an energy and more about energetic direction or energetic redirection. So as I shared before, the energy of life is always flowing, it's always going somewhere, but what we're doing is using our own intent, our own persuasion, our own influence to make requests and interact and be in co-creatorship with this external intention so that we can redirect its flow, bring its attention to other places or into other things that we're asking for help or support or direction or change around. So the way I sort of saw this, again, it's a bit like relating with a human being. Have you ever noticed with reality that sometimes it only ever seems to step in when you're in the 11th hour of pain, where you're just like, help me, please step in and do something, like help me here. Have you ever noticed that it's often, not always, but often in those moments that where reality felt like it was just completely silent for like a really long time, suddenly all of these things start shifting and changing and like just everything overturns, and before you know it, you look back and you're like, oh well, everything's different now. And the way I saw this was often like, sometimes if you're with a friend and they're carrying something, they look like they got it, you're like, okay, they got that, I'm going to be over here kind of putting my attention on making this thing over here. And it's only when you see that they're actually like falling down or stumbling, or they're just like, are you going to help me? Like, please help me. That often that's when, oh, sorry, okay, let me come in and step in and actually help you in that moment. Is that sometimes in this way of like humanizing reality in that way, it can actually be quite helpful, because you just think, what is a natural way of relating or communicating with people? So if you always look like you got it, then maybe reality says, no, they're okay. Like I'll put my focus over here, and my external intention is going to be going into these other things and creating these other things. And basically your external intention or your external creative power gets more powerful the better you are at communicating with reality, the better you are expressing your needs. Again, it comes back to relating. Like, how would you best relate with a human being? Expressing gratitude, showing appreciation, asking for things that you need, being polite, being considerate, seeking consent. So like, the more we can bring those energetics to the co-creative relationship with the consciousness of reality itself, the more it's likely to use its resources and its own intent, which is external to you, to help you in the creation of what your internal intent actually is. So it's a bit of an abstract one, but hopefully you can wrap your head around that reality itself has a consciousness, and reality itself decides where it wants to send its creative energy and its creative intent and its focus and how it wants to create. And so you're building a stronger relationship and a stronger connection with reality itself, and thereby inadvertently through that, in the same way that you would with a human being, the more connection and influence you have on where they might place their resources, well, reality is the same. It will then place its resources more consciously into the things that you're asking it for support with, that you're asking it from your internal intent. So now I was asking reality, Akashic Masters, what have you, how does all of this work together? So is there one of these four energies that actually you need to focus on first and the other ones flow, or like do you have to do it all at once? How does it all work together basically? And they shared that it wasn't a linear thing. Like it wasn't like, okay, first you work on the love and light healing, and then you move on to the Kundalini, and then you move on. Like it doesn't work like that, because it's more of an integrated ecosystem that's all working together. You can work on any one of these four energies at any given time. You just need to make various inquiries as to where you stand with each one. So that's kind of effectively what I was doing the other day when I was like, I don't feel tired. I feel like I got the energy for this. I feel like my body feels fine. I could create something. I'm working all this healing anyway. If you watched my 30 days of shadow work, I'll put that up here. We're really working really hard on that. So that feels okay. So there's a lot of things that felt okay. But the one of these four that was really out of sync for me was number 3. So my creative ideation, that was just really pretty terrible in that particular moment. So it's kind of like checking in with each one to see where you are with them. So here are some questions that you could ask yourself to tune in and see what your current level of power is with each one of these four creative energies. How am I relating with reality in this moment? What could I do to improve my relationship with reality in this moment so that it releases more of its energy and influence my way? What energetic template am I referring to right now? Is this coming from me? Or am I plugging into someone else's or expecting that I ought to create in this way and therefore creating a blockage on an energetic level? What's my Kundalini life force energy like right now? What could I do to create more joy in my moment right now? Or what could I eat that aligns with my body's composition that will provide more energy for me and harmonize my body's insides to help me create better? What needs to happen for me to accept and integrate dismissed or denied parts of myself right now? What could I bring my conscious attention to that will help heal and integrate rejected parts of me? Or if you have an awareness already of certain parts of you that you're rejecting, you could spend some time with them and take a moment of personal reflection with them to love, heal, and bring conscious attention to them. So what the Akashic Masters shared is that there isn't anything outside of these four energies that exists on this kind of raw, creative material that we're using to make things in reality, to treat reality like a giant Minecraft, basically. So when they spoke about masculine and feminine, because often these are kind of energies that we speak about, they described them as more like the paintbrush of reality. They're not the raw things. It's like they flow through different ratios of masculine and feminine blending that creates certain things in certain ways, but they're not necessarily the raw life force. However, if we obviously have really skewed relationships with certain masculine and feminine ways of being through our upbringing, through society or whatever, then that might mean that we need to bring in number 1, which is harmonizing discord, so that the way that we're painting with these raw energies isn't really a mess, basically. So that is a way that it could influence it. But then again, that goes back to number 1 as a result of input from reality, which is masculine and feminine, rather than masculine and feminine being this raw energy that we're actually creating with. These energies aren't on to max all the time, because that goes against the natural order of things, basically. If you just look out into nature, there's nothing really that's ever on all the time. Never, ever, ever has any kind of rest ever. Reality knows that we're not robots. So whilst we might have all of these things switched on and lit, let's say, that doesn't mean that in that particular moment we're meant to create and create and create, build things, blah, 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 all these different active things, because there is a law of cycles that exists in nature. And so you may find that even though all of these things feel like they're in alignment, still nothing's coming through. So how are you going to know whether you're in that stage where it's no, actually it's time to rest, you've been through your cycle of creation and now you're in the incubation phase, versus one of these 4 energies is skewed in some way? And they basically said you're not really going to know unless you try and test and trial and error and experiment and see what lands for you and see what kind of patterns you can pick up in how you're creating and how your energy is relating. And then from there, it's easier to predict or draw extrapolations into what is likely to be happening for you. If it's happened like 3 times and you've seen a pattern, you're like, oh, okay, it's just this time. It's that particular moment. 1 week after my period, like I just closed out a project. I tend to go into an incubation phase there, and also it's winter. So definitely, you'll just notice that it's likely that you're just in that period of rest if you've seen that pattern enough. So again, that comes down to engaging with reality, experimenting, trial and error. And then you can actually find a way to be very well orchestrated with what's happening with this raw energy that's flowing through you and how you bring it forward and craft things in your reality. So I hope you found that useful. I found it very useful, particularly as I was staring at the wall, literally for about 48 hours straight. But here I am now, I'm actually making a video underneath the Christmas tree with my peppermint tea. So most of what I received today was from the Akashic Masters. So if you're interested in the Akashic Records, then I invite you to check out the link in the description box and download the guide that I've created called Align with Your Soul's Path and Purpose through the Akashic Records. So if all this stuff sounds, all this energetic stuff, it just sounds so interesting for you and you feel like you're ready to go deeper, maybe explore how it's relevant for your own soul path, you may find that guide super helpful. It's free and it will be sent straight to your inbox. And again, if you are interested in the Akashic Records, maybe you might be interested to hear how I got into all of this, how I became interested and started channeling and tuning in with the Akashic Masters. And I'll put that in the video here. And I really recommend that'll be the next best video for you to go and check out. Thank you so much, and I'll see you over here.